changes really fast, we know that. Remember, the wind chill is a big factor, definitely. So I talk about building throttling. The sun angle, especially visibility and the early night time. 5 o'clock it's already night, and we are basically to make sure that we are current when we go out at night flight. The sun angle is a big factor, definitely, especially if you go like into runway 25 here or over to Alamogordo, runway 21, basically where you have the sun directly in your eyes and you don't see anything else but the sun. So be careful about that. About the visibility, as I said already. For the pre-flight, proper clothing. Remember it's cold, so have a hat with you, headgear, gloves, a warm jacket, all that stuff. Be prepared. And it might be pretty warm outside, but if you like fly up to the mountains and you have to do an outside landing unplanned, it happens every time, as we know. Remember to be prepared to stay a few hours out in the cold. That's the wind chill factor is a big factor there. Also, if you take passengers, make sure that they know about that, and they don't come in shorts in winter time. Seen that before, so it's not a good idea to do that. Maybe a good idea to have a good small survival package with you, including additional clothing, blankets, maybe sleeping bag, something like this, and also food and water. Okay, even if it's cold, water is extremely important to have with you for the survivability out there. The aircraft itself, usually here, as long as it's in the hangar, it's no big deal because it's rather warm in there. And if you pull it out, it's even if it's very cold outside, it's not a big deal. But if we had it over in Alamogordo, for example, and we'll see how that works between around Christmas time. If it was a cold night and if the aircraft is icy and cold, be careful there. If it snowed or if it's ice on there, remember to remove everything, every little tiny thing, or if the sun is shining, maybe wait an hour or so and then the problem disappears by itself. Top of wings, if you clean them, I know some people don't see up here and they think maybe there's nothing on there. Nope, that's not the case. Make sure that you actually clean everything. Check that the controls are free and movable, that the hinges are not frozen, the tires are not frozen, and then you realize that when you want to taxi out and nothing moves. So make sure that they are not frozen to the ground. And have a clear windscreen and the windows. Basically applies all the cold weather operation. You know the limits there, what's written in the dashboard in the POH. How to operate. Rather take a few minutes more on the ground to warm up the engine and all that stuff, than hurry up it quickly and then break the engine because it's not warmed up properly. For the startup, again, preheating. We have this hangar here, so it's like I said, not a big deal. Alamogordo, don't go too early, let the sun do its job, and then make it a bit warmer. Right away early in the morning. The priming takes a little bit more fuel. Cold weather operations, it's actually written in the POH how to prime and what to do there. At low ambient temperatures, that might be a problem. Cold temperatures is giving the battery extremely hard time. So be aware of that. Don't do all the checks with the battery on for a prolonged time, otherwise it might happen that the engine doesn't start anymore. That's not applicable anymore for the aircraft we have. We don't have carburetors. And that is quite important. And cold starts, every cold start for any engine implements quite a bit of wear and tear on the engine itself. So be careful on those ones. The warm-up, again, as I said, very cautious with the power until the engine is really warmed up. Means until the oil temperature is really in the green. Okay? Don't do any run-ups or anything, or high RPM before the engine oil temperature is not in the green. Yeah, consider to delay the engine run-up until it's really up to about 100 degrees Fahrenheit or more. Again, the green arc is a player there. For those aircraft, important, full and free movement, okay? Rather do it twice or 3 times as just to, oh yeah, it's moving somehow. Might be an eye-opener shortly after takeoff if they have to move some else. When you go cross-country, closely watch the weather. It can change here rapidly, as we know. And remember, depending where you go, mountainous area, there is possibilities of clouds up there. So be careful watching out for the weather and have a divert plan or an alternate plan in mind and be able to execute that. Visible moisture for our aircraft, no good whatsoever, especially not at this time of the year. But at this time of the year, it will produce icing. Okay? And as we know, these little things are not really good in icing. And it's been flight tested, so you don't have to try that again. Okay? We don't have the icing equipment, just a quick reminder on that one. I think we know about that, but I know the dangers of icing. I'll talk about icing in a few minutes. For the approach and landing, again, plan ahead. Don't fly at cruising altitude until the airport is then idle and go down. Descent with power to keep you warm, because then the engine gives the temperature into the cockpit as well, but also to keep the engine warm. Okay? Especially in winter time, shock cooling is a big factor, and the engines don't like that at all. So rather descend further out or do a couple of turns or circles and descend with power. On that one. Again, consider configuring early enough. However, remember the flap limit. If you use the flaps to stay at or below maximum flap speed. Also, in the considerations for the approach and landing, how's the runway conditions? Means, is there water on it? Is it icy? Is it snowy? Is it a mix of everything? When it was wet, it could freeze immediately or quickly. So be careful on that one. Sometimes the runway is very clear, but the ramp and the taxiway isn't. So be careful when you exit the runway that you have slow speeds, that you know about the conditions of the taxiway, and also know about the conditions of the ramp. Because it could happen that you stop the aircraft safely, step out of it, and then you break your leg because it was so icy out there. So be extremely cautious there. Basically, for winter operations, any questions or comments on that? Everybody happy?
The airplane's downtown at Alvarado and it's nice and cold and you fly early in the morning. Make sure the mags are off, and if you pull the prop through 8 to 10 times, it helps with the startup. It could be the difference of being able to start it or not because of that cold battery. I don't know how it works.
It works. I know. Are we having? I don't know. Is the airfield closed here between Christmas and?
Yeah.
So we will be having the airplane out.
Yeah, over at White Sands Regional.
At Holloman border.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. I'll have a few more minutes.
Sure. Right, you don't mind.
But the next thing I want to talk about is any additions on winter ops? Everybody happy? Remember to take a cake and a little bit on icing. Not the one on top of the cake, as you know. That might be something else. But that's the kind of ice as well. So remember, or as we know, a quick brush up there. Clear ice. Clear and smooth, contains air pocket, as we know. As it looks like, I have a picture. The interesting, most important thing about it, it's very dense and very hard to break. Clear ice is really no icing for our aircraft whatsoever. But that's a different thing. Where the grime ice is easier to be removed. However, again, as we don't have the de-icing system, that is not applicable. It looks a bit different, and it's not as smooth as it looks on the ice. The mixed ice is a combination, as we know. The effects, that's the important thing, destroys the smooth airflow over the wings and all the surfaces. So that means that with the ice on it, the aircraft weight obviously increases, the drag increases, and therefore the stall speed increases. Okay? And we don't know how much it really increases. Okay? And it can cause annual stoppages if it's like blocking the air intake and all that stuff. So what does that mean? There's something interesting, I think. Coarse sandpaper isn't really that thick, and you wouldn't think that that really disturbs much of the airflow over the wing. However, it really does. The lift is already reduced by about 30%, and additionally the drag is increased by about 40% versus the normal clean wing that we would know in summertime. Okay, so be aware of that. Even little icing can be extremely dangerous to those aircraft. It can cause structural damage. That is something that Pete doesn't like at all. And Tom neither. No structural damage. And it looks interesting. We've seen pictures like that. See, even a small thing like this, you wouldn't think that that really hurts the airplane or the flow of the airflow itself, but that actually can be extremely disturbing and causing accidents. It will formulate temperatures below 0 degrees with liquid water. It could even, on higher temperatures, do the same thing. For us, basically, any cloud will contain moisture and will produce and introduce icing. Freezing rain and drizzle, extremely dangerous. I mean, if we have freezing rain and drizzle here, you're lucky if you make it to the airport. And then even if it's getting worse, if you want to go fly. The aircraft performance is reduced. Again, I talked about the wing stall, the stall speeds. They will actually go up, the stalling speeds, and they actually can happen at lower AOAs. So everything that we know about stalling is not applicable anymore. It's totally different, and it will hurt you. Also very interesting, it can be asymmetric between the wings, so one wing can stall earlier than the other, and that obviously will maybe introduce also the springs. Self-explanatory. Roll control, again, if the hinges are frozen, controls are frozen, you probably won't be able to. And that will do it in on every surface. The other thing that we can experience then is a tail stall. So if the tail end of the elevator is frozen up or has some ice, and due to the smaller surface of it, it can actually accumulate ice much faster than the bigger wing. So we can expect to do that there as well. And unfortunately, it would be not immediately seen by the pilot. How to recognize it? Pitch control feels abnormal, erratic, and we have a lot of buffet in the control column. That is basically a tail stall that you can expect. Opposite to the wing stall recovery, and then you need to really think it's not the standard maneuver as we know it, and relax the fixing pressure and all that stuff, but the yoke, release the yoke, but it actually works the other way around.